again folks, and welcome back to this week's video. And again we are going out into the wild games hunting, but this week is a very special games hunting episode as we have been games hunting at One Life Left 2022 Gaming Festival. Let's get into it.
Pick up! Building the games room! Rush trips! Night game hunting!
In my last episode, we went around OLL 22 and had a massive look around the Games Festival. It is absolutely fantastic, and that video really shows you what was on offer at that amazing gaming festival. This time on this video, we are going to be looking at game hunting at the festival, as there was loads of amazing stalls, and I picked up some absolutely fantastic games, and I managed to knock quite a few games off my 20 in 2022 list. If you haven't seen that video yet, there's 20 games I'm looking for specifically to add to my collection in 2022, and they are the 20 games I'm looking for the most. And this is the kind of place at OLL 2022 I knew I was going to score big, and boy did I. So before we get into the video, I just want to remind you folks to subscribe. I've got one more video coming out next week from the Games Festival, as well as loads of videos coming out every Saturday live at 5 and bonus videos dropping throughout the week. So please remember to subscribe, like the video. Now onto the game hunt. Luckily, we were some of the first people into the gaming festival, as there was massive queues building up already at 10 o'clock in the morning when it opened, and I knew I had to be quick to get in there and get some of the best deals. And this first store we hit up had some amazing deals. We had complete box PlayStation 1 games starting at £1. That's right, and you knew I was like a shark smelling blood in the water. There were so many awesome cheap items on this stall, and I just had to grab as many as possible. It was getting super busy, and I knew the bargains would not be hanging around, so I was checking through the games, finding the bargains, and I found some incredible bits in here, and they were so cheap. I was genuinely surprised, this being a games convention, how much cheap stuff there was. It was the kind of place where you could imagine sellers might be selling stuff really expensive, but thankfully the price was right. I wasn't massively interested in the Xbox 360 games at the festival, as I was mainly focusing on some of the more hard to get and old school games, such as this Master System World Grand Prix, which was £1. Seriously, a decent condition Master System game for £1. I was checking out Alien 3, that was also super cheap. I do already own that one. And also, I was surprised they had some Saturn games, which is really cool to see. But what I think is even cooler is that they were super cheap. This NHL game was only £1. £1 for like a complete box Sega Saturn game in 2022. I had to pick this one up straight away. I know it's not the most exciting game, but my Saturn collection isn't huge, and adding the game in for £1 is an absolute bargain. One thing that really surprised me about this store was the amount of sealed Xbox 360 games they had, and they were actually super cheap. Like, as I said earlier in the video, I wasn't really in the market for Xbox 360 games, but if they're super cheap and they are sealed, you know I'm going to be picking them up. I don't really pick up sealed games too often, and another thing I do not pick up too often is Sega CD games. So imagine my surprise when I saw this copy of Sewer Sharks for just £13. I haven't even got a Sega CD yet, but if I see cheap games like this, you know I'm going to pick them up. If for nothing else, the artwork on this was absolutely incredible, and £13 is a bargain. Like the Sega CD, the Dreamcast is one of my smaller collections, but it was mainly the PlayStation 1 games I was focusing on here, as there was some absolute bargains to be had. Seriously, like black label PS1 games for £1 at a games convention. That's just absolutely crazy. But yeah, this stall really did have a little bit of everything, and there was some really well priced stuff. But the thing was, it was the first day right at the start of the convention. I didn't want to kind of spend all my money straight away. They had some nice loose cart stuff, as well as some boxed SNES games and N64 games, and I'm always on the lookout for kind of the older retro stuff, as I knew the gaming festival was going to be the place to be to really find some cool rare stuff I just don't see very often, such as that Super Star Wars for the SNES. That was very tempting, and me and my wife really debated about this copy of Pokemon Snap. It's a game we've been looking to add into the collection for quite a while, and this was a really nice copy. So yeah, this store had some really cool stuff. It definitely got absolutely savaged early on the gaming festival. Like, by the end of the first day, a lot of their stock had gone. I think it just shows you that you kind of need to be quick buying stuff at the festival. On the next store, I came across an absolutely massive box of PSP games, and these were all super cheap once again. And you know, you don't see PSP games that often, especially not for £1 each. I think it's one of those consoles is best to get for now rather than regret it later. 14 quid. Of course, it wasn't just video games, there was also some amazing deals on consoles, such as this PlayStation DualShock complete in the box and this PS1 complete in the box. They were both very nice, but I did have a finite budget for the entire festival, so I kind of wanted to make sure I had a really good look around because there was so much to see. And it wasn't just video games and consoles, there was also some amazing figures, more vinyl pops that you could shake a stick at, and there was some cool stuff that I'd never seen before. Like, I never knew they did these like mystery mini pops in Doom. I've got some of the Fallout ones and some of the Gears of War ones, but none of the Doom ones, so definitely add them into my collection to look out for in the future. There was so many pops, and the cool thing was they were mainly like kind of video games themed ones, and that's more what I'm looking for. But then again, I do also like the Marvel ones and the Star Wars ones, but yeah, there was something for everyone at this gaming festival. It was such a good selection of stuff. You know, if you're looking for toys or video games, they definitely had you covered. There was just something for everyone, such as these amazing like cups. There was like laser discs. This Mega Drive was really tempting. 40 quid for a complete box Mega Drive 2 is an absolute bargain. And this thing was really nice inside. It was definitely very tempting, but I did pass on it this time.
So this is a charity shop.
Oh, really?
I'll say fine. I gave it to you.
This next store was really cool because it had loads of kind of cassette-based games and even some older cartridge games. You just don't see them that often.
Literally, like, no artwork whatsoever, just the name of the game. It's like, so weird. So yeah, Summer Games.
This is the kind of stuff that I think games conventions are all about. The weird and wacky stuff, and the stuff you just don't see that often, you know. You'll always see like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo stuff all the time, but this is the kind of stuff you only get at a convention. The next stall on the game hunt was Last Level Games, a store in Norwich that I use all the time and is actually surprisingly close to One Life Left Gaming Cafe, and I knew they were going to have some absolutely amazing bits. I think they've been saving some bits specifically for this gaming festival. I knew there was going to be some amazing games and hopefully I could find some bits for that 20 in 2022 checklist. I dived straight into the PS1 games and straight away found a game from the 20 in 2022 list. It was Dino Crisis 2, which I really want to get, but it wasn't complete. But just next to that, I finally managed to find it, a copy of Metal Gear Solid Black Label with the Silent Hill demo in one of the best conditions I have ever seen. This game looked like it was absolutely mint, and I was not missing out this time.
This is the one that keeps going away every single game hunt.
That is right, folks. I've held out and managed to find a copy with Silent Hill, like so many of you told me to do. So, thank you. I'm glad I kept the faith and held out, as now I have one fully complete for the collection. It was an absolutely amazing find, but it's just a tip of the iceberg. The Last Level game stand didn't just have quantity, they had quality. There was some absolute god tier games on sale here, and I once again am glad I held out, because as you remember on one of those first stands we found that copy of Pokemon Snap. Well folks, this is what you call a copy of Pokemon Snap. This thing is absolutely beautiful. It is so mint, so clean, and it is so coming home with me.
50 quid.
Last Level Games had some absolutely amazing boxed N64 stuff. It is one of my favourite things to collect, boxed N64 stuff, and they had so much more. Especially, once again, it's one of those things, when you see a game, you'll see it again. So it's another copy of Sewer Shark, this time for 30 quid, but this copy was a lot cleaner than one I picked up earlier. But there was some, as I said, some amazing stuff. Look at this copy of Doom for the 32X. If I had a 32X, I would have probably grabbed this, as again, that is a thing of absolute beauty. Another game for the 20 in 2022 list, which has dodged my grasp for so long, is Sonic for the original Master System. And even better, the owner was like nice enough to let me swap out the nicer cart and the nicer booklet for the game, because I've been trying to get this complete, but I found either bad condition copies or incomplete, so it's amazing to add this absolutely minty copy into the collection. As I said in my last video, this is the first gaming convention I've ever been to. Obviously, I have a lot of experience games hunting, but games hunting at a games convention is so much different. It is so overwhelming, the amount of stuff to look through. it's just everywhere you look, there's absolutely amazing games you want to add into the collection. You kind of have to just have a little bit of self-control, as you're going to see so much amazing stuff, but you'll miss stuff. And one thing that I nearly missed was this absolutely, and I use this word not loosely, mint copy of Perfect Dark, another game off the 20 and 2022 list, which I haven't been able to find yet. And to find it boxed, complete, and absolute mint is an absolute steal again. Another difficult thing with being at a games convention is remembering what games you had. I nearly picked this one up as just a really nice copy of the game, but thankfully I remembered last minute that I did already have this in the collection. Here we go then, day 2, and at day 2 of OLL 22 I did come a little bit later as I wanted to stick around till the bitter end for Wi-Fi Wars and the big quiz, and I was actually amazed how much stuff was left. A lot of stuff had been picked through, but it just seemed a lot of these sealed Xbox 360 games had been left, and you know, they were super cheap, so I definitely wanted to pick them up. Also, I was surprised to still see some cheap GameCube games being left behind. So, you know, it shows you kind of miss stuff when you're going too quick. Like the day before, I'd missed just some cheap GameCube games to pick up. As I've said many times before, GameCube games are getting more and more expensive, and Extreme G is actually one of my favourite racing games, and it's just good to pick up cheap GameCube games. You know, if I see them and they're only a couple of quid, I'm definitely going to add them into the collection. One game which I've been meaning to add into my collection for quite a while is Oddworld Abe's Exodus, and this was a super clean copy of the game. It was really well priced. I didn't actually realise it was a 2-disc game, so yeah, it was definitely good to add to this one into the collection. It was kind of coming to the end of trading for the day. I was very, very tempted to pick up loads and loads of these UMD movies for the PSP, but it's a difficult one. You can't collect every single thing. They are a weird niche item. I do have a few of these in my collection already. I did decide to kind of leave these behind. I probably may regret it down the line, but you know, OLL was an amazing time. There was so many games to pick up, so many games to pick through, and now we're going to take it back to the games room. I'm going to show you exactly what I picked up. It is an amazing haul. That was my first game hunt live and at a gaming convention, and it was absolutely incredible. There was stuff there that I've never even seen before, just never seen before, let alone had the chance to buy. It was absolutely amazing. All of the team at One Life Left absolutely smashed the festival. One word of advice I would say, if you are going game hunting at a games convention, get there early. I think most of the stuff I picked up within the first hour of the festival opening, and I think if you get there later, you're going to regret it. One of the most surprising things, and a good surprise, of the gaming convention was those loads of cheap games. I managed to pick up all of these PS1 games for just £1 each. So the first one is this Black Label complete copy of Soviet Strike for just £1. That's an absolute bargain. Then we have V-Rally Championship Edition 2, once again £1. This one does need a bit of a clean up, but you know, I don't mind cleaning the games. A game that I didn't have in my collection yet. I've got the other ones from the Command & Conquer series, and now I have Command & Conquer Red Alert, arguably my favourite Command & Conquer game of all time. It may be the value series, but again, for £1, you can't go wrong. And when we talk about definitive games on the PlayStation 1, Die Hard Trilogy for £1. Again, it may be the Platinum one, but £1, I'm definitely picking it up. And finally, and not least, Worms World Party. So the case in this one may be a little bit cracked, but again, £1 for an absolutely iconic PS1 game. Amazing pickups. As we all know, the GameCube market is absolutely exploding at the moment, so it's really good to pick up some cheap GameCube games. You know, you don't see them that often, so when you do, grab them with both hands. First up is this NHL Hits 2002 game. You know, ice hockey is actually a sports game I don't mind. I think this was like £1 or £2, so definitely worth picking it up. Next up we have Extreme G Racing 3, which is one of my favourite kind of racing franchises. I don't know why they haven't brought this back. Again, this was only a couple of quid. No, I think there was actually £1. And the last one I picked up was Spyro Enter the Dragonflies. This was £8, but it is complete. And you know, the Spyro games are one of my favourites. It's just a shame this one wasn't on the kind of remastered list, so it's definitely good to add into the collection. I was actually amazed at how much cheap stuff I managed to pick up at the gaming festival. I expected most of it was going to be really expensive, so it's really good to see some bargains, such as this random copy of Guitar Hero Live for £2 for the Xbox One, basically because I just had a disc-only version, wanted to add one complete in the box into my collection. Also, a game that I've been meaning to get for ages, and at £4 it's a bargain, is Until Dawn, A Rush of Blood. So yeah, if you've got PlayStation VR, this game is an absolute must-have, and you know, it's one of the things that go up in value, so picking it up for £4 is a bargain. This is one of the most amazing things that I think I found, a Master System game for £1. World Grand Prix, not the most desirable title ever, but it's like in a nice box, doesn't have the manual, but for £1, can't complain. And one of the weirder pickups, £1 NHL 97 for the Sega Saturn. A Saturn game for £1 is absolutely ridiculous. Definitely had to grab this one. It's always good to add box PlayStation games into the collection, and Oddworld Apes X's Black Label for £7 is an absolute bargain. So this game is normally £12 in CX, and it is in really good condition. It has both discs and a manual, so for £7 this one was a bit of a no-brainer. One thing I really liked about One Life Left Gaming Convention was just the random bits you could pick up. Two of these things I picked up from one of the stalls. There was this Atari 2600 Centipede for just £2, and this Fallout kind of pixel dude for £1. Sadly, the Fallout guy doesn't light up, but still looks cool on my Fallout shelf. A console which is an absolute nightmare to collect for is the Mega CD. So when I saw this copy of Sewer Shark for just £13, I knew I needed to pick it up. These boxes are an absolute nightmare. I'm literally holding this one together. It has kind of come loose, but £13 for a Mega CD game in 2022. I had to add it into my collection. Now I just need the Mega CD. Another console which I think is really underrated is the PSP or the PlayStation Portable, so it's always good to see cheap games to pick up for the console. So I picked up a veritable stack, as these were super cheap, and I think they're only going to get harder to find over the coming years. So first up we have Prince of Persia Revelation, that was just £2. Frantics, which was £2 again. A game which is really good, a movie tie-in game that doesn't suck. Peter Jackson's King Kong. You get to play as Kong, play as like the guys in the film. It's a really cool game. That was just £1. Another movie tie-in game that isn't too bad, Transformers the game. Like, it's a decent game, surprising, I know. Commander Europe at War, no idea what this game is, but for like £1, I'm definitely going to add it to my PSP collection. Absolute classic, SSX on Tour, once again, for £1. Another game which I thought I had on the PSP. I must have. Ridge Racer 2 is the original Ridge Racer, absolutely fantastic game on the PSP. Dead to Rights Reckoning, I think this is a game that was exclusive to the PSP, like it was kind of based on the game that was also released on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, so definitely looking forward to checking that one out. This game called Kazook, not that you can tell by the title, not really sure about this one, but again, £1. And finally, a wrestling game I did not own on the PlayStation PSP. When I first got the PSP, this is one of the first games I picked up, obviously sold it over the years, is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. An absolutely fantastic wrestling game. I'm glad to add it into my PSP collection. Wasn't really expecting to pick up Xbox and Xbox 360 games, but these were super cheap, and most of these are sealed, so it's kind of a no-brainer. First off, we have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So the reason I picked this one up is because it has the 12 new fighters that you can only get through DLC, but they are on the disc for this game. So when that game gets delisted, if it hasn't been already, I will have all the fighters still. The rest of these were all sealed, brand new games. 50p for Guitar Hero Metallica. Aliens Colonial Limited Edition for 50p. These are all sealed, remember. Connect Nat Geo for, I think that was, £1, that one, but a sealed game. NHL 09 for £1, no, 50p for that one. And Fight Night Round 3 Classics for 50p. You know, I'm not a massive collector of sealed games, but at those prices, they can sit on the shelves, and who knows, one day they might get sent off to be graded. I was absolutely blown away by the quality of the games Last Level Games had. They always have good stock, but this time they really outdid themselves. One of the games that you saw me pick up was Rugrats for the N64. This thing again is absolutely beautiful condition, and for £15 is definitely good to add into the N64 box collection. So I managed to find not one, not two, but 3 games to check off the list of that 20 in 2022 checklist. So I'm really starting to make some actual progress, and I still genuinely can't believe I finally managed to find a copy of Metal Gear Solid in the most amazing condition I think I've ever seen. And the main thing is, if I can open this, I have to be very gentle with this one. It has the Silent Hill demo. It is all fully complete. I did pay slightly up on this one. I did pay £30. The aim was £25, but this is absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favourite PS1 games now. Another game that has eluded me for so long is Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Master System. This was one of the first games I have memories of playing in general, let alone on the Master System. This was one of the very first games I ever owned, so it had to be on the list for 20 in 2022. It is boxed, it is complete, even with the kind of Master System catalogue post you used to get back in the days. So yeah, £15 for this one, pretty pleased with that as a result. Final pickup from the 20 in 2022 checklist, this time from One Life Left Gaming Festival, is this boxed copy of Perfect Dark. And you could say this copy is absolutely perfect. It is in such amazing condition. You know, I've been holding out for a boxed copy to add for the 20 in 2022 list, and this one does not disappoint. It is absolutely beautiful. The final pickup, and possibly one of my new favourite items in the collection, is this boxed and complete copy of Pokemon Snap for the N64. Again, this thing is absolutely beautiful. I'm kind of scared to open it, but it's such an amazing piece to add into the collection. And this is kind of the advantage of game hunting at conventions. You can just pick stuff up you will never see anywhere else. And One Life Left absolutely smashed it with the vendors and in every single way. And I tell you what, I am definitely looking forward to hitting up more game conventions later this year. There we have it then. That was my game hunt from One Life Left 2022 gaming convention. It was an absolute joy shopping there. If you missed my previous video touring the other things you could do there, and there was so much more than just game hunting, then go and check that out. Thanks for watching this video. It was a super long one, so thank you for sticking along to the end. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe. I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.